Welcome to Crest, where we focus on fundamentals for our direction and technicals for our entries. And last week was a wonderful week. So the United States is in a shutdown, as we know. So the data would not be coming out until it is lifted. Well, last week we had a very beautiful week. So PMIs, we had PMIs coming out from the China, but Aussie, we had they held their interest rate, and I'm looking at it as a bullish one. Then we also have we had the JOLTS job, which came out kind of average, normal inflation from the euro, and then the ADP came out very bad. So this was what caused a Dixie drop to the downside. And then next week we don't have much now. So next week we have some amount of data there, but any data regarding the US is none of our concern because it's not going to be important. NZD, the market is pricing in a cut, right? What do you think? This cut would be a bullish one or a bearish one? Regardless, we will just be following the market reaction. We have where is that? Yes, employment data from CAD. Now NFP is supposed to be on Friday, but unfortunately it is on tentative, so it might not be out. So we go to the chart, and what we see is the Dixie is quite interesting. So on the weekly we see bearish on the Dixie, but internally what I'm seeing here is different. Say this is our structure point now. This is a low, this is a high, this is a structure that got broken. So this is now our lower low, this is a potential higher high. So I'm expecting a push from here. For that reason, I'm looking at long on the dollar. I'm looking at yen weakness due to the fact that they just I think today the new prime minister, she is more of an expansionary policy, so I think the yen should be weak. For that reason, I'm looking at USD China. It's quite nice. On the weekly, we are bearish to the downside, of course, still bearish, but if we can see there, we have our low here, we have our high, we have our low. So I'm expecting a high, and there is a lot of imbalance here. So this line I just drew is a line, a very powerful zone I expect the price to head to. So that's a zone I expect the market to hold. And as we can see, this held last week. I'm not in this position, so I'm looking for a continuation to this. But the man, we have a supply up here, but this is not the kind of supply I would like, so I can just mark it, keep just in case. So if we look at it on the 4 hours, what I see here is this point. I'll consider this point my high, I'll consider this my low. So if it should break here and comes back, then I'd look to long. So this is what I'm looking at. And if you go to your M15, you might see better setups if you trade that low. As we can see, this was fantastic. It was almost perfect. So what I'm expecting is to just take this guy out to buy, probably at market open. I have NZD USD here, right here. So I'll clear everything and okay, let me just clear everything. What I'm saying here is, if you look at this on the 3 months, we've come to this imbalance here. We filled it up. So this is a bearish candle. which is not giving us much of an information. So this grab liquidity, so this candle grab liquidity closed lower. Now we expect the market to go lower to take out this point. The next question is, what's the weekly and the daily doing? As you can see, the market is bearish, so we have this as our low, higher lower high, and these are lower low. So this is a lower high point currently, so we are looking for a lower high to short. So if that's the case, the issue I have here is there is a supply up here and there is an imbalance here, but the previous candle was a monthly engulfing, so we have a bearish a supply. Sorry, at this supply, the market didn't quite mitigate this point. So, and this supply is just above this high probability area for me. So this, I might say, if you look at it on your daily time frame modified, it's I don't know, yes, I don't even know, I think it tapped sorry, on the daily it tapped. I think we had a tap there. Yes, so there was a tap there. Going to my 4 hours and 1 hour, it's quite funny that we had a breakout structure. So that was the tap. We had this clear structure going higher, and then we had this break, or you can say it's a liquidity grab. We had this high. So I'm looking at shorting this point, but the only reason I will short beta is I'll wait for this break and then I'll take this to the downside. It will be a very clear one. Apart from that, nothing much. Going to the USD card, I'm looking at price coming down to this point before we can long, but we are already in a 4 hour structure, so potentially we might see a push to the upside. That's just it based on card weakness. And then this is one good trade I see here. On the monthly, it's a doji, so we are still bullish here on this structure. Then this is our structure point, so this is our range kind of. This high I expect it to be taken. Now we had an internal break here, so this zone was never mitigated. That is just the issue I have. Going to the daily time frame, what I see here is high taken. We had our higher high, which was a good shot, and then we are here, grabbed liquidity, broke structure to the upside. Not really much of a breakout structure, but this is supposed to be a break, but it stopped and did not close below, which you all know, when it doesn't close below, it's going higher. And I had this is a pullback. This is what I'm looking at, so I'm expecting price to head up to this point. That's for USD JPY. USD Swiss is not so clean. Now I have the GU, which on this time frame we are bearish, we are bullish on this time frame, and it had a breakout structure, so I expect a pullback. Now let's look at this very carefully. If this was supposed to continue higher to break structure, then it should not have rejected this much. So now it has rejected there. I did not expect it to break this point, and it has. So this is a complete change in structure, so I expect price to pull all the way down to this 1300 area. Going to the daily, last 2 weeks was a doji, so we are at a D1 supply. I expect a change. So this is my trend, right? This is my trend, so this is my range. Although the main trend, this is the main point, so I expect the market to continue down. This, can call it a breakout structure, you can call it a grab, liquidity grab, whatsoever. If that's the case, this is now my range, but then we have this other range here. So I expect GU to start shorting. Now this is my one of my highest probability setups for the week. The problem is I'm waiting for this break, and if it breaks this point, I'm taking it all the way down. So that's my highest probability for the week, GU, just expecting better. And for yen weakness, I have the Swiss yen, right? So this is the Swiss yen reaction. The yen is weak. We have this point. I'm expecting a push all the way up here, right? It just reacted at the point I was expecting, and this push has to come as high as this. I am in CAD yen. I took CAD yen. Okay, so the reason is clear. We are bearish on this time frame, on this leg. If you look at it on the daily time frame, so this was a liquidity grab, or you can say a breakout structure. It did not close above this point. It had to go higher, but then it's dropped. This is a good point. The yen is already weak as fundamentally due to the elections. So if it is short term, we should have a push. And now I had a breakout structure here to the downside, to the upside. So this was a demand. I was like, okay, so we just have to strike it. So this is a point targeting this, and then this. Then we might have one or two things that we might see, and then continue pushing price to the downside. It's just somewhere, maybe something like that. And GJ is also beautiful. So those are the GJ is beautiful, but I have an issue with GJ, which it did not mitigate this point. I'm expecting GJ to go higher, which if you look at this, it is bearish, but at this point, if you look at it, this is bullish. This is the point. So this is our highest high. It just broke this internal structure, so we might see this point. It's reacting at this on fresh. This is not fresh. A fresh demand, which on fresh 4 hours demand. So it's not my kind of setup, but if you want to buy, you could buy. The next thing I'm focused on this week is NZD weakness. Looking at euro, so I gave this out last week. If you look at this, this is bullish, right? Everything about this is bullish, but then on the daily time frame, we have this structure. Let me clear everything, but this entry was fantastic. We had this, so this is a high. We had structure break. Where is the target? This point is the first target. There is a demand here, of course, but this demand is not important. If you look at this on the, you can see that's the weekly demand, 4 hours demand, whatever the case may be. So I'm expecting price to come as low as this point. So this would be a long-term setup of a week swing position. We had this break, so we have this break here. Now this, you might say, is a break to the downside, so we expect this to continue from here. But looking at this, there is a supply area that has a structure. This might be liquidity grab to break structure, and then we see price going that way. That is the setup. We have the GN, which is also what I was looking out for. So GN, I'm expecting GN to push this. So when it comes here, I'll look for my confirmation on lower time frames and then take the short. And then we have the NZD card. The reason is, this was the analysis so that we could short here, but when I looked at the daily time frame, of course that's a good short area. Price reacted the first time, so it did not close below this point, and structurally this is a 4 hours structure. Let me clear this. this is a 4-hour structure. This is our lower low, this is our lower high, so this is our lower low, and I expected price to come as high as this. So this is where I had the setup, a good pullback to short here, but took my profit up there. Unfortunately, it broke structure, so now I'm looking for these longs. Now the question is, where am I going to look at the longs from? If you look at it from your weekly time frame, we have a bullish candle. I'm expecting price to head higher to a supply there on the 4 hours or on the daily, and this is the supply. It's up here. There is an imbalance here. Price might come back for, but this is a doji, so let's just see the 4 hours. We have this internal structure. Can this internal structure continue to push price higher? You can take a little risk. This is 1 hour structure, right? So you can take a little risk. We might see this, or if we see this, then we can long to this point. Remember, NZD is still bearish, right, overall, but short term it's bullish. Okay, so that should be all for the week. And the pound Aussie, it's additional. You can look at the pound Aussie. Why are we looking at this? So I think we have Euro Aussie shorts too. So this is push, but it's not my kind of setup. So if we can see price to this point, it's not my kind of setup. I can sit that out, but that's bearish. If you look at this on the weekly time frame, the Euro AUD, now this is my kind of setup. This is bearish already. We have a break of structure here, so I'm expecting this break. Price is reacting at weekly supply, drop based drop, which this grabbed liquidity and broke structure at this point, broke structure again. I'm expecting a push to drop. Looking at the weekly, what was that candle? It was a doji, so you're looking at D1 supply, and a D1 supply here is somewhere here. So this is where I'll expect price to head to. If you look at it on the 4 hours, there is this is a structure. So this candle was just a grab of liquidity. I expect price to continue higher. So if this is broken, I see a push. It enters deeper by probably grabbing this point as liquidity, then I would like to short it. So Euro AUD is my very high probability setup. If you look at it on the daily, on the 1 hour, you would see that this is our supply. So this would be a very, very clean setup, I think, and I hope so. This would be something like this. So if you take risks, so this should just push all the way down here. It's nice, good risk to reward, a good risk to reward. But also the reason why I can't take this immediately is this point. This looks like liquidity, and price might just over around this point before dropping. So that's it for the week. Let's have a very beautiful week. The gold analysis is still bullish, but I'm not interested in gold anymore. I've taken enough from it. This is what I see here. So it has to take out this point, but now if it doesn't take out this high and break structure on lower time frame, definitely price should head up to this point. Now let's confirm something. Let's confirm something on the daily. Yes, so price should head up to this point, then you can buy, or when it gets to this point we can buy. Yes, that will be a good setup. That's it.